Have you guys noticed that PCs are faster in time than Apple products by a minute or two?
I have not noticed that. Okay, for some reason, I'm having trouble bringing this up. Hold on.
You want to share it?
I'm sorry, what are you having problems with? Okay, we're going.
I was bringing everybody in, so everybody's here now, so we can go ahead and get started.
Okay, well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming and attending the garden hour today. We are at MU Extension. I'm Ramon Arancibia, one of the horticulturists. And we have a, how is this going? It's not moving. I'm sorry, now I have problems. There we have. Here you have a map of all of us, all the horticulturists in Missouri, that we can help you somehow with your questions. But if you have more questions, just send it to us. I'll give you a link later on. And again, thank you for attending the garden hour today. Our first presentation, like always, it would be about the weather. And we have Zack today, but he's not present, so we're gonna put a video for him to put present the weather today. Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. This is our weekly weather summary for September 27th. I wanted to start off this week with some good news, and that good news is that we saw some much needed rainfall late last week and into the weekend, especially if you were in west central or southwest Missouri. And so here we've got a couple of precipitation maps that show how much rain fell from last Wednesday through yesterday, Tuesday. And so on the left, we see our radar estimated precipitation amounts. And on the right, we see our rain gauge observations from Kokoraz. And so I think especially on the right, the rain gauge observations show a pretty clear pattern where we saw really pretty widespread 2 to 6 inch rainfall amounts. We also saw a couple of isolated observations where we received up to 8 inches of rainfall here. But anywhere you see these yellow circles here on this map, that's going to indicate that that location picked up greater than 2 inches of rainfall, where the orange circles are going to show greater than 4 inches of rainfall. And so some really healthy totals in southwestern and western Missouri. But you can also see the eastern half of the state has really remained pretty dry, so didn't pick up a lot of this rainfall. And there was actually some locations that didn't pick up any rainfall at all during this period. And so for some areas, we definitely continue that dry trend. We also had a bit of precipitation overnight last night. So some isolated thunderstorm activity really along I-70 east from Columbia to St. Louis. So here in Boone County picked up anywhere between 1 to 2/10 of an inch of rainfall. Some of those amounts were higher as you get to St. Louis, where we saw generally an inch up to 2 inches of rainfall in that area as well. And so definitely helped some of the locations along the I-70 corridor that needed some rainfall. But overall, even with our rain this past week, I think the big story is that drought continues to persist into the fall season. And so on the left, I'm showing our most recent U.S. Drought Monitor map from Thursday, September 19th. And what really stands out is the area of red in west central Missouri, showing that D3 or extreme drought. And we did see some healthy rainfall in this red area last week. But if you've been watching these over the past few weeks, we know that we're really chasing some long-term precipitation deficits here. And so while this rainfall was beneficial, we still have a ways to go to kind of climb back out of these deficits. And so On the right here, we can see our radar estimates for precipitation departures from normal for the previous 6 months or 180 days. And we still see a lot of red on the map. And if we look at our scale here, that's going to be approximately 9 inches below normal or more in these areas, and still a ways to go and needing more rainfall for some of that drought recovery. And if we look at just the past 30 days, we can really see the footprint of our heavy rainfall from this previous week, where now southwestern Missouri is actually above normal for those last 30 days. But the rest of the state to the northeast and really eastern Missouri has actually been very dry over the past 30 days. And so I wanted to pull data for a few locations that really shows a story where in early August, we picked up quite a bit of rainfall from several different events. But then in mid-August, we kind of switched the faucet off and turned to a much drier pattern. And that's really continued through September. And so I'll start by looking at some of the rainfall in Boone County as an example here. First, our official National Weather Service weather station at the airport at Columbia really picked up the most rainfall in early August. So kind of got lucky with some of the heaviest thunderstorm activity that moved over the area. Picked up 9 inches of rainfall early in the month, but then as we look since August 14th, really have been much drier. So have really picked up anywhere from ½ an inch to an inch since August 14th, depending on the station you look at in Boone County. And so we can see also just from September 1st through today, about ½ inch of rainfall at the official site with no rainfall forecast for the rest of the week. Columbia is on pace for really our 7th driest September going back to 1890. Now we were on pace for our 3rd driest September as of yesterday, but those couple of tenths of an inch of rainfall we picked up overnight will kind of pull our record territory back, but we still are on pace for a top 10 driest September here locally. Very similar at the Mesonet stations, where from August 14th, just looking at around ½ inch of rainfall. A very similar story here in St. Louis as well. Picked up a lot of rainfall at the beginning of the month, but haven't seen much since that August 14th period. In September, St. Louis was on pace for also another very dry September, getting into the record books, but they picked up about 2 inches of rainfall overnight. So that one thunderstorm will actually boost St. Louis monthly rainfall really near normal for September. So got pretty lucky with that storm overnight. Kansas City has not gotten lucky. They've only received really about an inch of rainfall in September, and so are on track for their 8th driest September since 1889. We also know that for most locations in Missouri, our September normal for rainfall is just over 3 inches. So we're running 2+ inches below normal in a lot of these locations for the month of September. And so how does the next week look as far as our chances for more rainfall? Unfortunately, it looks like our kind of warm and dry pattern that started out our fall season looks to continue. And so on the left, we have our 7-day quantitative precipitation forecast from the Weather Prediction Center, and it shows most of the state being dry. Now we do see some rainfall again on that I-70 corridor out to St. Louis, but this is really picking up from the rainfall that fell in the early morning hours today. And so this map hasn't been updated to kind of remove our early hours rainfall from this forecast. So essentially, once this updates later today, we would expect a dry forecast for the 7-day period with really no rainfall forecasted anywhere in the state. Why is that occurring? On the right, we can look at a forecast model that's showing our jet stream placement high up in the atmosphere on Saturday, and we see really the jet stream far to our north, really across Canada, and this shows a ridge building across really most of the United States, or at least 3/4 of the eastern United States here, and that means high pressure, dry conditions, and warm temperatures underneath that ridge. And so we are actually seeing our temperatures increase here over the past couple of weeks as we've gotten into more of a warm period. But I do want to remind everyone that as we go into fall, we're kind of in this transitional period where our climate normals are actually cooling off quite a bit. So for today, our average high in Columbia, for example, is 76 with a low right around 54 degrees. By next week, we really drop 3 degrees from our high and low temperatures for our normals. So cooling down by about a ½ degree per day. We're also losing several minutes per day on our sunrise and sunset, and really seeing those days get shorter as we get into the fall. But when we look at some of our low temperatures that were recorded over the past week, and so this is a summary from our Missouri Mesonet, and the extreme lows here are some of the lowest temperatures we saw, and really just getting into the upper 40s at a few Mesonet stations, lower 50s at some others. So still remaining well above kind of freezing temperatures for this time of year. And so when we look at our fall median date of that first frost, or when low temperatures get below 36 degrees Fahrenheit, some of the most northernmost counties in Missouri are typically seeing that first frost date during our first week of October. But looking at current temperatures and the forecast for the next week, looks like we're going to be a little behind schedule for northern Missouri as far as reaching that first frost, as we certainly don't have any of those cooler temperatures in the forecast for now. In fact, I'm showing here are some temperature maps for Saturday as far as our forecast. And so the numbers on the map are the high temperatures on the left, low temperatures on the right, and the colors are shaded are our departure from climatology. And so really this is the forecast for Saturday, and I expect a similar forecast for much of the upcoming week, with temperatures in the mid to upper 80s across the state and lows in the middle to upper 60s. And as you can see from the map, there's a lot of red. These temperatures are well above normal during this time period. So highs and lows both 10 to 15 degrees above normal for the next week. And so quickly, I just wanted to show some of our long range outlooks as well. So this is our 8 to 14 day temperature outlook. So getting into that second week of October, pretty strong confidence that we're going to see those above normal temperatures continue. Although there is some good news looking into the second week of October where we might be leaning above normal for precipitation. So that would be great if we could get a few more rainfall events as we get into October. And these maps are new from the Climate Prediction Center. These are our October outlooks for 2023. So on the left, we can see maybe slightly above normal temperatures for October, but starting to see more of a signal in the forecast for increased precipitation during the month of October. And this kind of follows an El Nino signal, especially the precipitation here with higher precip in the south central and eastern United States. And as far as precipitation, seeing a similar signal for our October, November, December 3-month forecast. This really looks like a pretty good El Nino signal here. So Missouri right on the edge of a border with a higher % chance of precipitation. And then on the left, really just seeing our probabilities for an equal chance of either below or above normal temperatures. And so we'll definitely keep an eye on these seasonal outlooks as we are changing seasons and getting ready to head into winter later this season. But hopefully those El Nino conditions can bring us a wetter pattern that will help with drought recovery. And so that's all I've got for today. As always, here's my contact information. So feel free to reach out with any questions you might have. So thank you.
All right, thank you, Zack. I'm gonna share a little bit before going to the moderator again. I forgot to mention that all our garden hours are in the website, and actually in YouTube, on the MView IPM. You can find them there and read them, or we are also live stream with this garden hour on every time that we go with it. I also wanted to share with you the, hold on. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to look how to fix this part, but so we're gonna go now into the moderator, And well, what I wanted to tell that with us is also Debbie is in Ask Questions here. You can ask questions in the chat box to her, and there ask questions here. And Tamra is in the chat, putting more information if you all want to search or look into the website for more information of the topics that we're talking about. So with that, I'll pass to the moderator, Dhruba. Is going to be our moderator today? Go ahead, Dhruba.
All right. Thank you very much, Ramon. So before we go ahead and answer the questions, so I would like to ask Ms. Debi Kelly to talk about our EMG State Conference. Debi, please. Yeah, so I can see your screen.
Yeah, but I was still muted. Sorry about that, guys. So every year there's a Master Gardener Conference. This year, the specialists in horticulture with campus, as well as out in the field, are doing the conference this year. It's going to take place in Columbia. And here are our keynote speaker. It's going to be Dr. Tim Evans. Even though it says MU Vet Medicine, Tim is really good about interacting with poisonous plants. And so it's not only eating poisonous plants for animals, but what can be poisonous for us as humans when we're touching them, removing weeds, those sorts of things. And also you'll be treated to Tim because he is quite humorous when he does his presentations. There's going to be 2 potential tours. One is going to be visiting with the MU Botanic Garden, and the other one is going to be the Columbia Center for Urban Agriculture. I've been through both of those, and they're really, really fun to see all the exciting things that's taking place there. So the conference is actually going to be on Saturday, October 14th, and Sunday, October 15th. We have a full agenda, so you can kind of see, I'm going slowly through here, so you can see what some of the different presentations are. Lots of great things. If you are a master gardener, you have a chance for some advanced training. And so that is going to be in this last column here. But some great presentations are going to be seen on Saturday. We'll have we'll have the tour in the late afternoon, and then we'll have a banquet where Dr. Tim Evans is going to do his fun, trust me, it'll be fun presentation. Then on Sunday, the Missouri Master Gardener Association is going to have their board meeting. All members are welcome to attend. We will have breakout sessions again throughout that morning. Again, there will be an advanced training. With advanced training, they are limited to the total number of individuals that can register. So make sure you register early so that you can get in on that. And then we'll have some presentations from some of the folks on campus, and we will actually have a lunch buffet. Registration is $125 for both days. That includes 3 meals, or you can just attend one day if you like. And knowing Tamra, she's probably dropped in the registration page if you're interested in attending. Thanks, Dhruba, for letting me say this. Will transportation be available to campus on Saturday for the advanced training? Yes, we are working on transportation from the hotel itself to campus or to the Center for Urban Agriculture. The hotel is right there near campus, but we are doing transportation.
There's another question about, do you have to be an Extension Master Gardener to attend? And no, this is open to the public. Everybody is welcome to come.
All right. Thank you so much, Devi and Tamra, for clarifying that. So now time to answer questions of this week. So we received a few questions this week as well. So the first question was about sprinkling the baking soda solution accidentally to the grass, and which killed the grass. So it was only about half a cup. So the person said the next day she did that, those grasses turn yellow and brown, and there is no sign of greening up. So the question was, what was the chemistry behind that? Okay, so here we can see in this picture on the lower side, so those grasses turned brown and died. We can see here. So this is caused by the baking soda solution. So let me go to the next slide and talk about the baking soda. So baking soda is common name of sodium bicarbonate. The chemical formula of baking soda is NaHCO3. NaHCO3. So that is sodium and bicarbonate. So sodium bicarbonate is a salt, and that contains sodium cation and bicarbonate as an ion. And the pH of sodium bicarbonate is high, so it is 9, and it is highly alkaline in nature. And if we apply that sodium bicarbonate solution to our soil, that increase soil pH, and if we spray to our plant, so that is phytotoxic, that means that kills our plant. So now let's talk about the chemistry behind that. So why baking soda kills the plant? So it has high salt content and that suck the moisture of the foliage and the roots. So baking soda solution has high salt content. That means it is like highly concentrated salt solution, and that high concentrated salt solution sucks the moisture of the foliage and roots on the roots wherever we spray. Then the plants become dehydrated and dry. So as all plant tissues are dead, including the roots, and those plants cannot grow back. So that is the reason. So it has been reported that some people use baking soda solution sprayed to kill weeds. So they are growing in the driveway and sidewalk cracks. So I read in some of the articles, but if we do that, we have to be very careful not to spray to our desired plants. So that's all I have. And let me stop sharing my slide here. So now I go to the next question. So the next question was about the marigold plants, and they are nipped in half and leaves chewed off. And the bed has like enclosed area with 7 feet high fencing, but it was open at the top. So the nipping and chewing has taken place during daytime, and no plant parts seem to have been consumed. And the question was, do you think this was done by a squirrel or some other critter? So our colleague Ramon is going to answer these questions. Ramon, please. I think you are muted, Ramon. I can see your slide, but you are still muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, Ramon.
Thank you, Dhruba. Well, this is actually the picture that the person that sent the question, how it looks like. This is the situation. And you can see that all the plants are kind of cut in the stem. The foliage was not quite eaten, so it's not something that it would eat. It's not using the marigold as a food. And you see that in the back that the area is green, so very unlikely that a deer may have gotten in. So what could be the causes? Or let's go to the there. So we can summarize it. These are young marigolds in raised bed, and they were nipped in house. It's an enclosed area with 7 feet high fencing, so deer is very unlikely to get there. Very difficult for a small animal to get in from under the fence, unless it's a mole or a mouse, which is possible. And the nipping and chewing has taken place in daytime. That is curious to that statement because, well, it could have been day, it could have been night, unless you see what's going on in the day, or you see the plants in the morning and then in the evening you saw the damage, then it's a day situation. So probably the person did see that situation. And as it says, no plant seems to have been consumed. This person suggests squirrels, which is a very good guess. Other possibilities, chipmunks that may have been. It looks like these animals were playing around since they did not eat the foliage, and somehow maybe jumping over the fence and maybe use the plants to hold themselves or breaking them down. Or in general, because these animals don't eat this type of plant that have a scent, and marigold, the foliage of the marigold has a strong scent. Also could have been cats playing around. And we talked about this morning with the horticulture group, and one of our colleagues indicated that he has a similar problem in his garden, and he realized there were his grandchildren playing around. So there is some kind of curiosity on the children that may have been doing some damage in there unintentionally. And it could be other things that we may not think of, but you never know. As I said, it doesn't look like it's an animal that would feed out of those plants. So what can we do about the squirrel chipmunk? Normally, there is plenty of information in the website about how to deter this animal. It's very difficult to get rid of the squirrels, to stop them from doing damage, but you have to keep trying. It's a never-ending fight. But some suggestions are to plant scented plants, or to use extract from these peppermint or garlic plants and spray the plants. Other people indicate to use scented baby powder, since squirrels and chipmunks don't like scented areas. Suggestion of use hot peppers, whether as flakes, dry flakes of hot peppers, or spray, but it has to be hot pepper. The capsaicin that I put there is the actual compound that is the pungent part of the hot peppers, and that is used. And you can find it commercially too. Cats have been suggested to put cat outside to deter the squirrels, but again, some other person suggested that cats might be doing, when they play or do other things in the garden, they might be destroying or damaging the plants. Some other suggestions are different type of electronic ultrasound deterrents. Other people suggest sprinklers that put in with motion sensors, so they can, when something is moving around, they start the sprinkler for a few seconds, and that will scare the squirrels, and they will run away. And of course, if it's the case of children, as these colleagues suggested, that's a very interesting suggestion. Now you're probably going to have to educate them with love and care. And that's what I have for this subject. If anybody else would like to put in the chat additional situations or ways to deter squirrels, you're welcome to suggest. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ramon. So our next topic is what to expect with fall colors this year. So on this topic, so our colleague, Sarah Higgins, Sarah is the MU Extension Field Specialist in Natural Resource, and she's housed in Phelps County. So Sarah is going to talk. Sarah, are you ready?
Yeah, let me share my screen real quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, we can see your screen, but not in the full screen mode. Yeah.
Is that good?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I'm going to be sharing our fall color forecast for this year, 2023. Before I get into the actual forecast, I'm going to talk to you guys about why our leaves change colors. So there are a couple characters, according to folklore, that have been, responsible for it in the past. One of them is Jack Frost. And then according to Native American legend, celestial hunters would slay the great bear in the autumn, and the bloodshed from the bear would drip onto the leaves and turn them red. And yellow colored leaves would come from hunters cooking meat in their kettles and the fat splattering out of it onto the leaves. But there are some other reasons that we know today on the leaf level for what is changing our leaves in the fall. So here's a cross section of a leaf, and it has all the different colors that we see on our leaves, the green, red, and the yellow. So the first key player to talk about is the chlorophyll, and that's what gives leaves green color. So there are a lot of these during the summer. They absorb sunlight and make food for the tree. And they're very abundant, but they're hiding other things that are present in the leaf during the summer. So they're active during the summer when we have a lot of light, but as we go into autumn and there's shorter daylight periods, the chlorophyll will start to break down and will reveal the carotenoid pigments. And that's what gives leaves the yellow and orange color. So as it breaks down, it basically unmasks the carotenoids. You can also get red colored leaves, and the red comes from the anthocyan pigment. So this isn't masked, it's not present in the leaves during the growing season. This is something that's produced in the fall when nights are too cold to pull down sugars made by the leaf during the day. So the sugars stay trapped in the leaf and make this anthocyan pigment, and it makes it red. Okay, so here's that on an actual leaf. So you can see here on the left, the green chlorophyll. And then on this leaf, it is able to produce these red and purple anthocyan pigments. So you can see the red coming in there. And then on the leaf on the right, you can still see some of the green chlorophyll, but in areas where the chlorophyll has started to break down, it reveals the orange and yellow carotenoid pigments. So there are a couple of factors that go into producing really nice, vibrant fall colors. So you normally, to get nice colors, you need cool nights in the fall with temperatures that decrease during the day, a wet summer and a sunny, dry, cold autumn. And normally drought isn't great for getting good colors. So here's the forecast for our leaves this year, and this is based out of Colombia, but you can extrapolate this to your part of the state. So we had an abnormally dry spring, which stressed out our leaves, along with a hot summer that led to less sugar production. And we did have some early rains in some early August rains, but it wasn't enough to fully erase the effects of the dry spring and the hot summer we had. And then here in September, we've had some sunny days, but not a lot of sunny days that were coupled with cool nights. And then, as I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, we experienced quite a bit of drought this summer in most parts of the state. So that's not helping our leaves either. And here's for Columbia, Missouri, the daily maximum and minimum temperatures, and these straight lines here kind of in the background are what's normal, and the dotted lines are what we observed in 2023 throughout the growing season. So looking at this, you can see that we had some hotter temperatures early in the growing season in the spring, hotter temperatures throughout the summer here than normal, and fairly hot late summer, early fall as well. So because of this, our peak colors will be a little earlier than normal. Normally we experience peak colors in the last week of October, but this year we'll be seeing them around mid-October. And the colors we do get are more likely to be muted, and we're probably going to be seeing more browns and yellows rather than our reds and purples. But we still will get our colors eventually this fall, and they may not be the most vibrant you've ever seen, but I'm sure they'll still be pretty. So hopefully you'll be able to get out there and see them. And that's all I have. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Sarah. We appreciate it. So our next topic is about harvesting nuts, and our colleague Eli is going to talk on that.
All right, great. Thanks. Let me get to task. Let me pull this presentation up. Let me see if I can get it to go
Yes, we can see your
full
screen.
screen. How are we doing? Doing good?
So, it is on the double screen mode.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Not a problem.
View.
Yeah, you can go back to how you had it, and then there's a setting you can do even when it's in presenter mode.
So
You
go back
just
to,
do how you did it. So put it into, oh, there we go. That's perfect. We
Yeah.
got it.
You got it. Okay, great. So today I'm going to talk about Missouri nut harvesting, also known as going nuts. These are some beautiful black walnuts, a picture taken from Missouri Department of Conservation. Such a nice color husk. Hard to believe that they will stain everything black. So one of the most important things to think about is how are you not going to kill yourself getting these nuts, because you spend all day bent over picking up nuts. It's only going to last so many hours of your life. And so there's two main types of harvesters. There's the nut wizard type, which is a ball basket type thing that you roll over the nuts, and then you set it on top of a 5-gallon bucket and shake them through, and they have all different sizes according to whatever kind of nuts you want to get. And then there's the oh boy, this is called, it's not the nut wizard, it's called the harvest buddy. Is that right? So anyways, this one is more of the driving range golf ball, driving range golf ball picker upper type, where it has plastic fingers that the nuts feed into, and then you push this along or pull it, and those fingers go over a hard metal object that will then pop the nuts out into your storage device. And of course, you can do the classic pick it up by hand, or if you're large enough, you have tractor mounted or tractor pulled equipment to manage it. But that's something to think about if you're going to get into nuts, or you got some nuts. These tools are not so expensive, and they're pretty readily available, and they will make your going nuts less nutty. So the few major nuts in Missouri I want to talk about is the first one is the black walnut. It's actually our state nut as of 1990, and we are the largest producer in the United States of America. So that's pretty awesome. It's used in confections. I don't think it's that great to eat raw, but it's used in confections. And then the shells are used as abrasives and filtration. They use it when they're building your car engine and stuff. It's pretty awesome. There's one major buyer in the United States, Hammond's. You go to their website and you can see that we have a ton of buying sites in Missouri, but all over the Midwest, they're buying nuts. So you're going to harvest this. It's going to fall off the tree naturally. You're not going to shake the tree. You're going to harvest it. You're going to pick it up when the husk can be dented easily with your thumb. And there should be some really great resources that Tamara's putting in the chat that has much more detail about these nuts and their harvest. And so, but the faster they are husked, the less the nut meat is stained. So you can see this one on the left, there's no stain of the nut meat. The nut meat will actually get quite dark if you let it sit in there for a long time. And then on to my first introduction and favorite Missouri nut is the pecan. You want to begin harvesting when these nuts first drop. Once they start dropping, you can go out there and you start shaking the tree. I don't recommend using baseball bats or 2x4s to hit the limbs, but you can shake them, maybe send your 6-year-old up the tree to bounce around and stuff. You want to pick them up as soon as possible and store them in a cool, dry place. To maintain the best quality, the pecan kernel is 70% fats, oils. So you want to store them in the freezer. I know there's buyers across the state. I know there's industry in Southwest Missouri around Nevada, North Central Missouri and Brunswick, and they have the world's largest pecan. If you're looking to see, you got a little road trip and need to go see, the world's largest ball of yarn. Well, there's the world's largest pecan is right here in our state. And then in Southeast Missouri, they also have pecan buyers. I think in Southeast Missouri, they start to change from the northern cold hardy pecan, which is what we grow in Central Missouri and Southwest Missouri, over to more of the southern thin shell pecan. And these buyers, I know at least up in Brunswick, you can harvest your nuts and bring them in. They'll also run them through their cracker and give you back cracked nuts that you can pick the nut meats out of, which is a nice thing if you just got a few trees. Then finally, I'm going to talk about hazelnuts, filberts. They'll fall to the ground and should be harvested several times a week. If the nuts are not falling, you can pick them from the husk once the husks have browned. You want to dry these in a more forced drying situation. Maybe get out that Excalibur dehydrator you got, or figure out some way to warm it up a little bit while you're drying it with some dry air. And you want to store these also in a cool, dry place. And so in the state of Missouri, we have a native hazelnut that you can grow, and you can get those trees from the Department of Conservation or from other places for pretty dirt cheap, but they are susceptible to blight, and the nut meat is not going to be as improved. So if you're thinking about planting some hazelnuts, I'm all for getting a bunch of trees out there, but making good decisions with all of these pecans, hazelnuts, black walnuts, any other nut tree. You can find hybrid varieties that are going to do better with a little bit of research, and you'll have a much more satisfactory time going nuts. Thank you guys very much. Back to you, Dhruba.
All right, thank you, Eli. So our next topic is what is flowering now? And our colleague, Donna Aufdenberg, is talking about this topic. We can see your slide, Donna.
Yeah. Thank you, Dhruba. So, I'm a big fan of the 4-season garden, and one season that people start to struggle with on having things bloom is the fall. But I will tell you, it can be the most beautiful time of the year. We're past the echinacea blooming, we're past the black-eyed Susan, things that we commonly see. But, I get this question quite frequently, what can I plant in the fall? So I just thought maybe I'd put together some slides of some things that are blooming right now or have been blooming in the last couple of weeks. Typically these have about an 8-week bloom period, August into September and into October on some of these. So the first one that I really enjoy is pink turtlehead, or some versions are white turtlehead. Other people call it Cleone. And there is native varieties of this, and then there's also cultivated varieties of this. But I have always loved this plant because it looks like little purple or pink turtle heads blooming. And the bees absolutely love them. They'll climb into those little openings on the flowers. It is a perennial. And it will come back faithfully year after year. There are some varieties that will actually handle wet feet. And so this is just a very versatile plant. I've had the one growing in my yard for now over 20 years, and it just keeps coming back faithfully. And it's easy to divide and give away to friends and spread around the yard. So definitely a winner in my book. Another one that I thoroughly enjoy are the asters. Fall is about asters and chrysanthemums. So we do have some hybridized varieties of asters that you can find in a lot of the garden centers or nurseries, but I love the natives the most. And so I think my favorite is the aromatic aster. This is the one that gets about 3 foot tall. You can choose to prune it back halfway in the season to get a bushier, fuller mound, or you can choose to let it go so it'll get a little taller, and you can have it blooming a little sooner. Another one that tends to be a little bit taller than the aromatic and a little more floppier, that's the New England aster. All asters typically come, and this is encompassing all the varieties, come in white, pink, purple, and even a bluish purple. And so I just absolutely love asters. They really add a lot of oomph to the garden. And the one thing I really like about our native asters is they are so full of pollinators. And so these can even be found blooming until the frost and past frost, which will allow some late season feeding for some of the pollinators, which is a winner in my book. Oh, let me get going the right way. Then we have azure salvia. Now, this is a salvia that is sure tall and floppy. So it's one of those, it's electric blue blooms. But if you're going to plant azure salvia and it's a native, make sure that you plant it among other things that hold it up. And so, like I said, I just absolutely adore the electric blue blooms. But that downfall is it's tall and floppy. So you have to provide those supports for it. Another one that everybody's familiar with, of course, is chrysanthemums. I miss the old-fashioned chrysanthemums that were perennial and they came back faithfully year after year. I love the new ones in the fact that there's so many different types of colors and formations on the blooms. You have the daisies, you have the palms, you have the doubles, there's just and all sorts of different vibrant colors. So, I mean, we've traded the really beautiful, vibrant colors and different patterns for the longevity and being hardy. And so just realize that when you're buying mums in today's market, odds are it's going to be more of an annual. And if it does come back, you're lucky. And because a lot of times they don't, or you may only have 50% come back. And just remember that. And always remember that this is one flower you can get in early, mid, or late season blooms. So you can expand your mum season for many weeks if you choose early, mid, and late blooms. But you know, it is definitely a winner to put in your yard, that vibrant color. Just don't always count on it being 100% coming back. Caryopteris is another one of my favorites. This is also called Bluebeard. And Bluebeard comes as a perennial, and it also comes more in a shrubby perennial. So when you go pick out a Caryopteris, make sure to do your research, because there's lots of cultivars out there, and find out how big it gets. So if you want something that's going to be 18 inches, make sure to get that variety that only gets 18 inches. If you want something that's going to be 36 inches, there's that size for that. These range in white to pink to light purple to dark purple. They're amazing because they bloom at every joint. So there's blooms at every joint, and they're just gorgeous. And you can even get some with lighter foliage and darker foliage, which can really contrast with that bloom. Like I said, this is one of my favorites. Definitely a winner in my landscape. Another one that's not the bloom that's attractive, it's the berry, and that's beautyberry. And I really thoroughly enjoy the native beautyberry. I think it's more attractive. And so it does bloom in the spring. It's fairly insignificant when it blooms. But like I said, the pow comes whenever you see those purple berries, and it's a sight to be seen, especially when you have those bright purple berries at every joint along those stems, and just definitely another winner for fall. And then, of course, then we have the fall anemone. Now, this is not a native, but it is one that is definitely a great addition to any garden. It comes in whites and light pinks and dark pinks. And this one is Missouri Botanical Garden had this one where it's a darker pink in the petal, and then the edge is white. And I think it's just absolutely stunning. This is one that you can count on blooming from August into September. And if the weather's, does well, then you might even have it into October. It's a nice green foliage for most of the year until it blooms, and then it's very attractive. But with these, I've just presented several options, and I hope that all of you go out and you seek out some of these beautiful additions that you can make to your yard for fall blooming. Okay, back to you, Dhruba.
All right. Thank you so much, Donna. Let me see here. Give me a second. I don't know what happened. Give me a second, okay? I don't know what happened to you. Oh. All right. So our next topic is, how do we improve garden soil health? So I know it is a very broad topic, but I will try to summarize some of the methods in a few minutes. So we can improve garden soil health by various methods. The very first step is testing our garden soil at least once in every 3 years. So the soil testing provides information about nutrient content in the soil, and it also provides information about other soil properties like soil pH, organic matter content, and cation exchange capacity. So soil test report also provides crop-specific fertilizer recommendation. The report also tells us whether we need to apply lime or gypsum in the soil or not. And if yes, it also gives us how much amount we need to apply in the soil. So we need to follow the guidelines given in the soil test report. And now, it is the right time to test your soil. So early fall is one of the best times for testing soil because we will have time to apply any amendments like lime, gypsum, compost, or any type of organic manure to make ready for our land for like next season crop. Another option to improve garden soil health is making and using compost. So YAMU Soil and Plant Testing Lab has recommended maintaining about 4 to 6% organic matter is optimum for garden soil. If our garden soil has less organic matter content than this, we can make and use compost to improve the soil health in our garden. For making compost, we can utilize plant residues and animal manures available in our garden and in our farm, but make sure. So we should not use any disease and insect infested plant parts and weed seed, or if the crop residue has seed. So they will create a big mess in the soil. We can also use animal manures, but we have to compost them properly before we apply to the soil. They should be well decomposed before applying to the garden soil. And we also need to be careful whether there is any herbicide residue in the plant produce we are using for making compost. Next option for improving gardens soil health is planting cover crop. We can plant these cover crops to cover the ground during fall and during early spring. We can plant these crops right after harvesting our main crops in the fall, or just before harvesting the main crops in between the rows of the main crops. So we can see here in this picture. In this garden, the cereal rye was planted in the fall and it was killed, and those pumpkin was planted in the summer. So cover crops provide many benefits, such as reducing soil erosion, increasing soil organic matter content, suppressing weed emergence and growth in the garden, and many others. So I do not want to go to those long list. There are different types of cover crop options for the garden. So we can plant root crops such as tillage radish and turnip, and these crops are winter kill, and they are easy for killing. So they are naturally killed. So if we plant legume cover crops such as cowpea, winter pea, and hairy veg, so they fix free atmospheric nitrogen and supply to the soil, which is a good source of nitrogen for the next season crop. We can also plant some other grass cover crops such as cereal rye, winter wheat, and oat. And so they produce a lot of biomass in the fall, and also in the spring they are winter hardy. So these are some of the options we can consider, but there are many others. But because of the time limitations, so I did not list them here. And there are some links of those guide sheets provided in the chat box for soil sampling in the garden, making and using compost, and planting cover crops. So that's all from me on this topic. All right, so our next topic is about friend or foe, and our colleague Tamra Reall is talking about that. Tamra, are you ready?
I'm ready. Hold on. Let me bring this up. We're going to be fast so that we can end on time. So let me go ahead. You should be able to see it now. I'm going to launch the poll. Tell me, is this a friend, foe, neither? It depends. And we're going to be fast. So you have 10 seconds. 5 more seconds. 2, 1. All right, I'm ending the poll and sharing the results. All right, so a few of you said friend, most of you said foe, and a few of you said it depends. All right. Well, it looks like most of us are on the same page. I also said that this is a faux. Now, these are kind of the snails and turtles of the insect world. These are bagworms. The bagworm family is, I mean, it's fairly small. It has about 1,300 different species worldwide, but we only have about 30 species here in North America. Most of them are a nuisance or a pest. So the reason is because they can feed on over 128 different plant species. They most commonly attack plants that are arborvitae or red cedar or any of those juniper species. However, they will also feed on fir, maple, juneberry, buckeye, persimmon, ginkgo, honey locust, larch, sweet gum, spruce, pine, sycamore, poplar, oak, locust, willow, and hemlock. So they do have a wide variety of things that they can feed on. There's even more than that. Like I said, there's 128 different plant species that they'll feed on. So even though it doesn't look like it, this is actually a Lepidoptera. It's a moth. If you were to open this up, you'd find something that looks a lot like a caterpillar in it. And that's because the female, actually, I just have to show you this. The bags that we find here in Missouri are usually about 2.5 inches long. However, that's not how it is everywhere. These are actually from when we were in the Bahamas for the Farmer to Farmer. I found some on one of the buildings that we were staying in. They were about 1/2 inch long, really, really small. So it just really depends on the species. The species we have here in Missouri are rather large. You'll see here that that I give information about only the male and the bags. So the male, they're about 1 inch. You're probably never going to see them though. You probably are only going to see the bag. So let's talk about this. And I have a video of one that I found that was crawling around, and it's a little bit loud, so I'm going to go ahead and stop it. So that is actually an adult female that is crawling around. Now it's awkward, like it's cumbersome, but they can actually crawl quite a distance. So you might not think that something that small can go very far, but they really can. The adult female actually doesn't have any wings. She stays in that bag. She creates that bag. She'll spin silk and attach leaves and twigs and all sorts of things to it because not only is it camouflage, but she actually uses that bag to lay her eggs in. She never leaves it, so she'll end up dying in there. But she can lay anywhere between 500 and 1,000 eggs in the bag. The eggs remain in the bag throughout the winter and then hatch the following spring. We only have one generation per year here. So the larvae themselves are very rarely seen. And like I said, the adult males are often rarely seen. They are a little bit furry. They look a little bit like a blackish bee. They have very long tapering abdomen tips. And we just don't see them. They don't feed, but they find an adult female, they'll mate and then they die. So they're really only alive for a couple days. Oops. Okay. So if you have these, one of the best strategies right now, if you find them, hand pick them. If you spray anything, it's not going to work. Those bags are nearly impenetrable for anything that you might apply. If you can hand pick them, that's the best way to do it right now. If you, in the spring, if you want to apply something, as soon as the eggs hatch and the young are starting to emerge, you can actually apply BT. That's going to, because it is a Lepidoptera, it can affect them. There are some chemicals that are available, but you have to apply them very, very early. Otherwise, they're not effective. So really, truly, if you're going to do anything right now, it's to pick the bags off. I would recommend doing that because they have so many eggs in them. That's probably one of the best ways to control them. And that's it for today.
All right. Thank you, Tamra. So now the time to go back to our host, Ramon. So Ramon, so I get back to you.
Thank you, Dhruba. Thank you for all the information, Tamra, Debi, and everybody. So before we go, just to remind you that all these live stream or the snippet or the records of these garden hour and previous garden hours are in the YouTube under MUIPM. We also wanted to go, as always, our future meetings are gonna go monthly. So our next meeting is October 18th, then November 15th, and then December 20 to finish this year. We're gonna continue next year monthly at the beginning, and then in the summer, we're gonna come back to every week. So if you have questions, please send them to the link in there, ipmmissouri.edu, and we'll have your questions to answer as we always do. And appreciate you all being with us. Thank you all. Oh, if you want to save the chat, go to the three dots in the chat box. In the bottom, there are three dots there. You can see right there. And click in there and you can save the chat for today. Actually, I'm going to do that right away. So, and again, that's the map of us, all of us that are covering the different part of Missouri. If you have questions, you can call the MU, University of Missouri Extension Office. We have one in each county, and we can talk with you and address your problems too. But we always welcome you to send your questions to us so we can address it for everybody in the state. And with that, thank you all. I hope I see you next month.